Hey, IT Nation, Sean Lardo here with a new live stream series for IT Nation Secure series. This is going to be the place where you're able to come and check out what's going to be happening this year at IT Nation Secure in June in Orlando, Kissimmee, however you say the word. I always get it wrong. However, make sure that you do make it. If you have not registered, you still have time to register for this. It's clear not until June 2nd to the 4th, but it is one of the premier events of the year to go to, especially if you're a security professional. Not to take up too much time on my own, so I won't, because I want to bring on who the real person behind the scenes is going to be. That's going to be the face of secure this year. And I say a few really quick things about this person. And I think most of you that are in the security space, you definitely know this person too. So this person, he's a technical leader to small and large MSPs. He's been doing this, specializing in cybersecurity, design cybersecurity and compliance programs for MSPs, clients, SaaS providers. He's done a lot of that. He's actually amongst the masses of people constantly engaged in the community at a level in the trenches with every cybersecurity professional is at all levels. He also, his real claim to fame, surprisingly, he created the MSP subreddit, which everybody loves to be on there. It's like the days of our lives, or the general hospital of the MSP space. It's a great place to be. And last but not least, he's a self-proclaimed coffee snob, where, and the number one coffee in the world to him is Dunkin' Donuts. Without further ado, let's bring on the man of the hour, my good friend, also my co-host of the Wise Up podcast, Matthew Topper.
How's it going, Sean? As you can see, have my Dunkin' here ready to go. Afternoon live stream. So, we're just working on that sponsorship for Wise Up.
One day, Dunkin' will definitely answer the call and give us a sponsorship, and then we're off and running.
Or they might call us and say, stop showing Dunkin' on this thing.
Stop ruining our name. So real quick before we get started on this, because I want to dig into secure. For those of you that don't know, as I mentioned before, Matt and I we're co-hosts of the Wise Up podcast. And we just dropped the last episode today, the most recent episode, with our actual supervisor, Peter Kajawa. He's also the person that is responsible for all IT Nation as a whole. So if you have a chance to check it out, I do suggest you do so. It's a very fascinating conversation. The one thing about Peter, he comes from previously was an attorney, and you can tell he's a great litigator, especially with me. Second, he took over. He worked for him as an MSP and the growth and helped with growth. And then he moved over to us at one point, taking over for Paul Dipple with the Service Leadership Index and all that stuff. And he constantly does trainings, educations, and presentations on all this, on operational maturity and whatnot. I'm done with that. Anything else you want to add to that, Matt?
No, I think you nailed it. A lot of good stuff happening in Wise Up, a lot of good value coming out of that. And like I always say, it is not the biography show. It's a utility.
Absolutely. So with that all, now let's get into what we're really here to talk about. We labeled this episode as the changes, right? The difference in IT Nation Secure. Now, this is your first year leading IT Nation Secure. I'm curious. I mean, you don't look like you've really aged at all, so that's weird. But how does it feel stepping into the driver's
seat? It's different in a good way, right? There's certainly challenges that go along with leading this event and leading any event. And my biggest thing is I see this as an opportunity to take what I used to think attending the events, right? I was an MSP for quite a long time, went to IT Nation Secure even before I worked for ConnectWise, and say, what do I want to see in an event? And I feel like this is my chance to take that and actually implement what I wanted a security event to be as someone who attended them. And so for me, while it's been challenging, it's been a lot of work, It's been a lot of coordination behind the scenes, and like any other endeavor, some cat herding to go along with that. It's been very rewarding so far. Everyone who on the team is excited to see this succeed and wants us to make an event that the entire industry can be proud of. So it's been challenging in a good way is the the sum up.
I think we can all appreciate that part. But now we said there's changes. So what's your vision for this for 2025? I mean, obviously you and I get a chance to work side by side a lot in this, but I think for people, we actually, you and I had this conversation just the other day. Like we talked about we're changing, we talked about the differences. We haven't really announced to the world what the difference is. So, now is a chance to do it. So what's the vision and how are you going to bring this to life?
So the big thing that I want IT Nation Secure to become is the security show in the channel. Not just about ConnectWise products, not just about new things that we've released and new updates coming and things like that, but really everything about cybersecurity in the channel, in the MSP world, things that I cared about when I was running security programs, for that to be the place to be. And we'll get into it in a little bit, some of the specific changes, but really it's almost a flip from being mostly a way to get new product updates and new things that are coming around. And this to be the one-stop place, the premier place to be for things that are happening and things that matter to you as someone running an MSP, working in the software industry, anyone in the channel, you have security concerns, just to hear what's going on, what's changing in the industry, and what you should be doing and thinking about. And so we're trying to change just the identity of the show and make it the example I keep using over and over is we're not making RSA, we're not making DEF CON. What we are, though, is taking a step towards that direction, right? We're not going to try and be the end-all, be-all show of everything the way RSA, DEF CON, those kind of shows might be. But if you made a chart, you might go in that direction a little bit.
That's a great segue into my next question. Actually, I was thinking is all the conferences you mentioned, RSA, DEF CON, and whatnot, now us. What makes this so important? Secure. What makes it so important for the cybersecurity community?
So the big thing is there aren't a lot of cybersecurity shows in the industry now that are vendor agnostic, right? It's mostly about hearing what's coming down the pipe, what new things are coming, and that's important too, right? I don't want to diminish the importance of tools and products in cybersecurity because that is a big part of it. The technology is a big part of all of that, but these shows are a way for those of us who are doing the work, the practitioners and the decision makers and the marketing and salespeople who have to go convince clients about all of this, for all of us to come together, talk about what we're seeing, what's different in the industry, what's working for people, what's not working for other people, and move beyond just this, hey, here's the tools I should buy to get this done. Here's what you should be doing. Here's what you should be thinking about. Here's what's working and not working for your peers, right? That go-giver philosophy we like to talk about at IT Nation. This is the chance to see these are things that I'm doing great. These are things I tried and didn't work, and get some of that practical advice from industry experts who are hard to get a hold of otherwise.
Okay, so with the changes that we're starting to get into now, can you give us an idea of what's new? And why you changed it too. I think the why is very important. You kind of touched it, but what's new and why is it and why this all happened?
Yeah, let's take a couple of minutes and hammer on the content, right? The breakout sessions, the educational component. That's one of the big cores of any show, and this one as well. So the feedback that we've gotten historically from IT Nation Secure is that there was good content, but a lot of it was just product focused and what's new. And I decided, and not just me, but we collectively decided, just me being the face of it, we want to show content that the industry needs to hear that's relevant to what's going on. And I'm intentionally using that phrase, the industry needs to hear. It'll be relevant as we talk about how we selected content this year. So as you probably know, when shows do their initial looking for content, they release a call for speakers, right? And Any of you who have been on a selection committee or have been involved in planning events, you kind of just hope that what comes in matches what you're looking to do on the show. And like any other public endeavor or public request for comments or anything like that, you get some good submissions, some bad ones, some that are essentially sales pitches. And it's up to you as the committee to try and take all of that and filter it into what you're looking for in tracks. So what we decided to do this year was say, let's flip this and internally decide what we want to do, what the industry needs to hear. But our perspective is skewed internally, right? We have biases internally. So in order to address that, we decided to not just use our internal content selection team, but partner with external SMEs. So each track at IT Nation Secure is led by two people. One internal person who has experience in that area, one internal person to ConnectWise IT Nation, and one external person from industry who is a well-respected, well-known subject matter expert in that area. And together, those two people are selecting content from the call for speakers, but more importantly, they're putting together what the industry needs to hear in terms of a track, and then going out and finding the right speakers to talk about that. So it's a wildly different approach than what we've done before, but we said, instead of just kind of hoping that we were able to put together the right content and the right tracks from what we get in, let's go out and get what we need, what we feel like would benefit everyone. And so far, it's working great. I've been very impressed with what I've seen so far from the track selections this way.
So, okay, can you give us a preview of the content tracks?
Yeah, so there are 6 content tracks. And I'm going to pull them up so I don't read them incorrectly. So first content track is, I know, you would think I have this committed to memory, and honestly I do, but it's a live stream and I will read it wrong if I do it from memory. So first content track, incident response, insurance, and legal. This is the operational side of incident response, right? Things like, how do I deal with my attorneys? How do I deal with cyber insurance? Operationally, what do I say to clients? Things like that. That IR, insurance, and legal track. Track 2 is the management and leadership track. And by the way, future episodes of this series will have the track leaders coming on to talk about specifics of what's going into that track and how they were selected. So more to come on that. So the management and leadership track is not just about like senior management or how to run a company, but it's from the perspective of a security practitioner, right? So let's say that you're a person in charge of security. How do you start making that shift in clients? How do you internally get people to start caring about security? What if you're someone who cares about security but doesn't have final decision-making authority? That's the kind of management and leadership tracks or ideas we're talking about. How do you have critical conversations with clients? Things like that, not just how do you top-down run your MSP. So I wanted to make sure that we're clear that's all security focused. Next, we have an entire track on governance, risk, and compliance. This is one of my favorite subjects, by the way.
I got to jump in there too. I got to jump in when you say governance, because Tim Golden's on the chat, and you say governance and compliance. It's like Beetlejuice. If you say it like 3 times,
he just shows up.
Tim Golden shows up. So you're welcome, Tim, for the plug of your love for compliance and governance and everything else. But go ahead.
We do love Tim. So an entire track on governance, risk, and compliance. And without going deep into that, so we're talking about things like, how do you deal with the regulatory obligations that so many MSPs and their clients are facing? How do you provide services? How do you understand things that your clients might have to be dealing with that you don't have to deal with just based on the line of work that you or your clients might be in? And how do you do this without like totally grinding operations down to a halt? All of this legalese that goes around the compliance and regulatory obligations, and seeing risk as a business risk, not just a threat actor might break in. That all goes under the GRC track. Now, I know some people think that can be a very dry subject. I think it's fascinating. And I think once we release some of the session details of what's coming in on that track, attendees will too. But it's all about navigating that for you and your clients. Next, we have sales and marketing. And, Sean, I know you've been helping with this track. One thing I want to point out, though, that this is not just another way to say pricing and packaging. I feel like every time I go to a security show, the only content for sales and marketing is pricing and packaging. And there's so much more to it than that. So one session, Sean, that we talked about was how do you use things like compliance or insurance regulations to help drive sales without using FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Like, how do you spin that in a positive way? So there's a security component to this, right? We're not going to be teaching you about what top of funnel means and all that typical sales stuff. This is going to be about how do you put a positive spin on sales and marketing from a security perspective? Next, AI and hyper automation for cybersecurity. Look, AI, hyper automation, big. There's no way that we can do a security event without talking about AI. But these are things like, one, the security aspects around AI, right? How to implement that securely, how to deal with the realities of data leakage, how to deal with the potential risks of data going out of your organization, and how to use hyperautomation and AI to enhance your cybersecurity programs and offerings. And then finally, the last track for this year, one that I always wanted as an attendee, and now we finally get the chance to do, is the SOC analyst and advanced cybersecurity training. What I mean by this is stuff that wouldn't necessarily have a home in some previous iterations of IT Nation Secure, right? Something that's deeply technical or something that's mostly for security nerds, just stuff that like goes deep into the ones and zeros and wrench turning. That's where this is going to go. And I just want to make sure I'm not scaring anyone away. It's not like so deep that no one will get it, but this is an advanced, deeper, more technical kind of talk that really isn't about any particular product, isn't really about any particular methodology necessarily, but just a chance to go deep into the tech. So those are the 6 tracks. And when we start doing the next episodes and iterations of this, or installments, as Sean might say on the podcast, we'll go deeper into the specifics of each one.
It's funny because one of my questions was, which topic are you the most excited about or track? And you ended it with that. So I won't even worry about that question anymore, but I do want to, it's funny how, again, back to the whole Tim Golden Beetlejuice thing, right? Then all of a sudden, Matt Lee, first off, cybersecurity, anything cybersecurity, Matt Lee gets involved with, right? He gets excited. Second, then you say AI, and then John Harden shows up too.
Right.
It's just the weirdest thing how these guys, I feel like they're probably stalking you a little bit, Matt. So that's great.
I think we are being stalked.
I feel like we are being stalked. And also important to note that some of these guys too are also a big part of your early morning running away from things you do at the event.
Yeah. So we're not running away from anything. We might be running to something, or actually maybe it's a circle, but John in particular and Brad Powell, who is not following me in the chat apparently, the 3 of us have become like the core of the running group, and just it's fantastic to run with you guys, John and Brad, and anyone else who wants to come. We are, of course, doing the 5K run. I don't know which day it'll be yet, but there will be a run at Secure, and I'll be there, and Sean might be there in spirit.
I'll be there to see how much I don't want to do what you're doing. I will support you though. I'm very much a team player.
Mm-hmm. We appreciate it, Sean.
No, I appreciate you all. And also part of what we're trying to do to accomplish with the 5K run is also get involved with the IT Nation Give stuff. We're looking to make it a way where this can be paid, where people can donate and we can give away to IT Nation Gives. So I do expect people to actually show up and donate. Why wouldn't they? It's all for a good cause. And you guys are going to run, which is weird. So you should pay to watch them run. You know what? Good call, John. We did not say financial risk 3 times.
We didn't.
But I'm sure, I know. I'm afraid to try, because if it doesn't work, then we'll look horrible. So John, reach out to Brad and tell him saying it so you can say something.
Tell him to join in. Yeah.
Oh, well, it's weird, but if anybody mentions anything about insurance, you immediately think of Dustin, right? Everybody
Dustin
clearly
shows
is.
up.
It just says LinkedIn user, and I know it's Dustin Bollinger. So thank you, Dustin, for tuning in. And yes, you're right. It is simply the most exciting thing is insurance. Everybody knows that.
Do we have time to talk about a couple of the other new things besides content?
We do, and I wanted to get to that now. So let's talk about what's other changes that you expect here.
Yeah, so one of the other big things I'm really excited about is we're having what we're calling like technical breakout sessions. And what I mean by that is think of stuff that's usually a pre-day, right? A lab, a workshop, something that you have to register for in advance, where it's classroom style, you're in a room with good Wi-Fi and you're going through an exercise or some kind of instructor-led workshop, and you just have hands-on keyboard doing stuff, right? Bring your laptop to these. We're doing those during the event this year. So we have 2 breakout rooms that are dedicated for hands-on keyboard workshops, and we really just want a way to demonstrate some of these techniques, tactics, like get practical value out of things. And while vendor sponsors are involved in some of these, what these aren't are product demos, right? This isn't just a way to get experience using somebody's tool or our tools. This is a way to get real value in doing things and working through a scenario or working through a task you might have to accomplish and things that you might have to go through day to day in your security practitioner journey, right? So I just want to be clear about that. The breakout stuff, the technical breakout things don't require pre-registration. They happen during the event, and they're not demos. They're real, valuable, educational.
I think that's important. I think it's also important to note that the people conducting these are from around the industry. We didn't go with internal staff to do these things. So I think it's important that we should probably acknowledge that because we're talking about the best in class of people that know what they're talking about within that realm. They're actual practitioners, and they're going to provide a hands-on approach and a workshop to what's really required and how they actually conduct business.
For sure. But I also don't want to sell ourselves short too. So we do have internal participants acting as subject matter experts, right? So they're involved as well. People from our security team or from our SOC are also involved. And they're there as experts. And they're not there to pitch our SOC or pitch our internal InfoSec. They're there because they know what they're doing. And we want them involved too.
Absolutely. No, that's back to best in class practitioners, right? That's what we're looking for. That's what you provided, which is really good to talk about. Is there any other things that you'd want to highlight as far as in the agenda that's concerned?
One other thing, Sean, actually, you're working on this jointly with me. We're going to have some community content there, and I think this is a big new thing for us. So without giving away all of the details yet, because frankly, not all of them are completely finalized yet. One of the things that we're doing is providing a space for the community to give some of their own content here. So we kind of piloted this during Connect last year. You might remember that some of the sessions were put on by MSP Geek or by other groups. Tech Degenerates did some, CompTIA did, or CompTIA at the time did some, GTN now. But we're going down that path again by saying there's an area within the event that belongs to the community. And the communities that participate in this have pretty free reign, not completely free reign. We do have some right of last refusal on these, but the ability to put on sessions and content that they think is important to both them and the industry. And I think that's big for us in that we don't know everything, right? Even with our attempt to put on what the industry wants to hear and put on the right internal sessions that the industry and attendees want to hear, the IT Nation is not just ConnectWise, it's not just our partners and vendors, it's everyone in the channel. And what better way to demonstrate that than to give communities a platform to put on their content and things that are important to them. Exactly which ones will be participating and what that'll look like, we're still finalizing the details, but I just really wanted to highlight that we wanted to have a space that we say, this is yours, community, put what you want here.
I think the proper way of addressing this is the fact that this is a true full-fledged collaboration of all minds across the industry, not just one. You said it earlier on, but not, we don't want to be a biased group, right? So this is a fantastic place to start with, and bring them in to do what they need to do and talk about what they want to talk about, and we're supporting them.
Agreed. Right. And you and me, we're both part of many of these communities, and we see so many good things being talked about every day. And I don't know about you, I've been in some of these discussions and chats things. Man, this deserves a bigger audience, and I think it feels good for me to be able to help provide that.
It is fulfilling. It's great to have, and it's better with more heads than one, of course, right? So now let's ask a real serious question though, like, for the newcomers. Remember when you were first into cybersecurity, first in MSP, what, like, I don't know, 20 years
It's been a
ago?
while.
Why should a newcomer come to Secure?
So the biggest thing about coming to Secure, if you've never been to an industry event at all before, right? So this is maybe your first conference. Why come to something like this? Well, the biggest thing is that this is your chance to see what's going on in the industry. And I just want to really, really emphasize that we're talking about what the state of security in the channel is. What should you be looking out for? What should you be doing? What are other people doing? I think if I was talking to a newcomer, the thing that I would highlight the most is the value of the hallway track, right? Everyone is here. All the people who are attending this are facing the same problems you are. Many of them have solved it in different ways and give you some feedback on things that worked for them and didn't work for them. Or in the worst case, it used to happen to me, I would have people come up who none of us had an answer for the solution. And at the very least, it felt good to have some company for the problem that none of us could figure out. Right? You're amongst peers. You're amongst people who have been there before. And you're amongst the best and brightest in the industry. Some of the big people that you've seen, that you've talked to, you've seen on streams, you may have seen present before, they'll all be there. And let me tell you, this group loves helping people, right? It's not just you sit there, watch the breakout session and never see them again. You go to their breakout session and you'll run into them in the hallway. So my big thing for newcomers is that it's not just about ConnectWise. I want to emphasize that again. And it is your chance to find people struggling with the same problems you are, or people who have had the same problems, have various solutions to them, and can give you some advice about what to look for. And it's just a lot of fun.
Those are all good. Those are all good things. I think you said something that's we could drill into all day long. It's just about the many different perspectives of everybody that's been doing this. I mean, just the people in the chat alone have all built their own businesses or have worked for large companies and have focused solely on cybersecurity of some level and perfected a certain niche of something, right? And I think that's and to come back with a response and help people. I love to use the word repurpose because I know that there's not one way of solving something, right? There's so many different factors involved and variables, but it gives a chance for you to learn from your colleagues, your peers, and to be able to dig into something. And you might come up with your own solution to it, but at least you have a chance to get some really good quick tips and tricks on how to solve.
Exactly. None of us knows everything, and anyone who says they do is incorrect. And I can't tell you how valuable it was for me when I was attending these as someone who was in charge of security at an MSP. I see Matt is in the chat. Him and I did security together at an MSP before we entered industry. And just going to this stuff and like seeing people struggling with the same things we did and getting ideas that things were people were doing and things that were working, you get one good idea that changes the way you do business. It's worth the entire trip.
I would agree. Well, and then we can add just to my part of responsibility here is not only do you get the advice from peers, but if it's a product you should look at, that vendor's probably at the conference sponsoring anyway. So you actually can go get it directly from the horse's mouth of the product or the service or the whatever as well. So literally you have access across the board.
And this is such a good point, right, Sean? We've spent some time talking about like vendor and sponsor presence at these shows. And everyone we've talked to is there, yes, of course, right, to talk about their offerings, but everyone's also there to help, right? Most people who have started vendors and software companies did this kind of work themselves before getting into the vendor game. And there is so much you can learn from them, not just about their products, but how to run a business and how to tackle some of these cybersecurity issues, whether you're looking at their specific product or not, right? There's a huge amount of expertise there.
Yes. Well, I think it's important to note that because actually, even the guys that are in the chat right now are vendors, and they're immediately ready to help us appear before they worry about the product. I think the one thing you see happening more often now than not is the groups that are coming in are more about the education and the enablement of MSP as a business, as opposed to use my product. So they're really focused on the problems at hand, which is it's really refreshing to see on a regular basis.
Yeah, agreed, right? I was close with many vendors before I came over to this side myself, and including vendors I never bought anything from just because they were willing to help.
You know, so and we're going to get ready to wrap this up here in a couple minutes. So I do want to talk real quick about, what's one thing you hope attendees feel when they leave? Like when they wrap up all of IT Nation Secure this year, what do you want the general sentiment to be, and what do you want them to think and feel?
So I want them to think that by going here, I have found my people, that I have connected with my security peers in the industry. I have some idea of what to do next. I have some idea of what to be looking out for. I might have found a new product that solves a problem that I have, not just for the sake of buying a product because it solves a problem that I have, and just have some camaraderie, right? Feel like that there are other people doing this. I found people who might have solved my problems. I found people who are struggling with it, and we'll work through it together. Just make those connections. That's what I really want everyone to take away, that I have a pulse on what's going on in the industry, including what's going on at ConnectWise, but I have some good feelings and some hope that there are other people struggling with the same things I am, and that we're all collectively going to be better for having gone through this.
I like that. I think I want to just say, when people come to conferences, what I hope they do is they actually come ready to be open-minded, to be willing to go ask questions, be willing to be an avid learner, and know that every one of us on that floor has messed up, made that same mistake, or didn't know, or whatever. So that way you feel enabled to actually go have the conversations. Because I don't think there's one person that's going to turn you away if you go and you ask. Everybody that from everybody that you've selected to work with internally and externally for the track sessions alone are all, and we'll use the actual term, they're perpetual go-givers, every one of them.
Yeah, exactly, right. We picked these people for a reason. What we didn't necessarily do is say, who's the smartest person we know? We said, who is the most helpful person who is also an industry SME? And you know what? It turned out that in many of those cases, that was the smartest person we knew in the industry on that topic. Just goes to show how outgoing and giving this community and industry really is. But everyone involved is willing to help. In fact, everyone involved wants to help. I know that sometimes for me, like I wish more people would come up and ask me questions. And I think many people feel the same way. There's a lot of expertise there. There's a lot of expertise being shared in the sessions and exhibits, but man, really take advantage of that hallway track. There are so many smart minds at this event, and there's something to learn from everyone.
Absolutely. And to add to this, the whole open community concept that we have at the conference, if you don't get enough from somebody in a session and don't have time to talk to them, go visit the communities, talk to them and see what community you belong to. One thing about the space, it becomes very tribal. Fortunately for you and I, we get to be part of all of these tribes. We get to talk to all the people because we're involved everywhere. But for somebody just coming through this, or just, again, not part of any certain group, go find one you're comfortable with and actually get engaged with them, because they provide help and support and education and whatnot. So you will have the ability to meet them and hang out and talk about what's going on. I strongly suggest you do leverage that. It's a great resource. Now, we're going to wrap up now. So any closing remarks, Matt?
No, I'm excited to share more as we get going deeper into these live streams, and we will be talking to track owners. We'll be talking to some of the people involved in the interactive things, and just as we start getting closer to the event, there's going to be more and more to share, right? We haven't even gone through everything. When you asked me what's new, there are still new things that we didn't even talk about. So it's, I'm excited.
Mhm. Absolutely. I mean, this is my episode to introduce the whole thing. This is your baby. So I look forward to watching the next episodes. Don't forget, if you guys haven't registered, we do have early bird pricing. Social 50 gets you $50 off. Right now, if you want to register for Secure, it ends May 1st, though. For those of you that are watching now, make sure you stay tuned for the upcoming episodes. There will be one every 2 weeks, I believe, from here on out, to really start to shed light and spotlight some of the things that are taking place, because there's no way you and I are going to get through everything that is going to transpire there in this live stream alone. There is just way too much.
Good problem to have.
If you have nothing else, it actually is, right? Oh, and by the way, there's a link below for you guys to go to. If you didn't have a chance, if you can't figure out how to use the Google and do IT Nation Secure, you can always just go right under this link. Now, with that said, that is all we have for today, Matt. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of the episode. I am excited to see what happens after this.
Thank you, Sean, for hosting.
You know what? Thank you. I'll be here all day. So, for those of you at IT Nation, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the community. We look forward to seeing you in June in Orlando. I'll be there. Matt will be there. Baby Carlos will be there. Until then, till the next time, we'll see y'all.